Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Jeremy Vogt and I'm one of the staff here at NACTV. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 17, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. And today I'll be reading the Neepawa Banner and Press dated Friday, October 20th, 2023. And on the front page we have a full color photo, Keeping Those Old Farming Traditions Alive. This is a photo courtesy of Krista McKee of Clearview Stock Farm. Justin McKee of Clearview Stock Farm participated in the 2023 Manitoba Provincial Plowing Days on October 1st at Gentris Farms south of Brandon. Justin learned to plow with Art Gibson at the age of 9. For the first time, he is using his own team of registered Suffolk mares. And an additional picture and story can be seen on page 14. So we'll go there now. Plowing match tests skills and passes them to next generation. The Manitoba Provincial Plowing Association hosted the annual Manitoba Plowing Days on Saturday and Sunday, September 30th and October 1st. The event was held at Gentris Farms, Chris and Heather Arthur, south of Brandon. Saturday was a learning and practice day and Sunday was the competition day. The above picture showcases Daisy McKee receiving instruction from Art Gibson. Gibson is an expert horseman and a very talented plowman. He designed a little cart that is towed behind the plow so he can offer skilled advice close up. Gibson also spends many hours passing on his many talents to young people who want to learn the various horsemanship skills. And there is a list of results of the competition, so you can see that in the paper. And the accompanying photo, Daisy McKee is shown here receiving instruction from Art Gibson. Suffolk horses originated in England and were bred for the furrow. They are well known for their quiet disposition and willingness to work. And back to the front page. Road rage in Minnedosa. Suspect charged in violent vehicle chase down. The early morning was the host of some unsavory activity recently in Minnedosa. At around 12:30 a.m. on Saturday, October 14th, RCMP received a report that a motorist was being chased in another vehicle on the town's main street. According to details provided by the RCMP, officers responded immediately to the call and arrived at the scene to find the suspect, a 21-year-old male from Minnedosa, armed with a knife. The suspect was taken into custody, and the victim, a 53-year-old who also resides in Minnedosa, was determined to have been uninjured by the events that occurred. Further investigation by the RCMP determined that the incident started when the victim saw an unattended campfire at Minnedosa Beach and parked his SUV to put it out. At this time, a vehicle pulled up and flashed its lights at the male. He got in his vehicle and left, but the suspect's vehicle followed him. In an attempt to get away, the victim sped up. The pursuing vehicle sped up as well, ramming into the victim's SUV multiple times. And it's continued on page 7. After the suspect's pursuing vehicle caused the victim's SUV to become inoperable, and the victim exited the vehicle and fled on foot. At this point, the suspect exited their own car and entered the victim's. Able to get it operational once again, he drove it into a fence in the back alley off Main Street. The vehicle sustained significant damage. Investigation then shows that the suspect proceeded to steal personal items from the victim's vehicle before returning to his own, which was also inoperable. Police found him at this time, and he was found to be on conditions to not possess weapons. RCMP then arrested the 21-year-old male and have charged him with the following: dangerous operation of a motor vehicle, possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose, assault with a weapon, theft of a motor vehicle, unlawful transportation of cannabis, unlawful transportation of liquor, and breach of a protection order. The suspect is reported to have been released from custody on conditions by the court. The decision for the suspect's release was not made by the RCMP, but by the court. And so that's it for our front page. Now we'll move on to page 2. From a new perspective, ArtsForward features digital works by local artist photographer Ron Nordstrom. And there's a picture of him on the left, and on the right, a sample of his photograph manipulation works. A fresh perspective can make all the difference. A single item or scene captured in one way given new life through the eye and work of the beholder, even when that particular thing was captured and then re-explored by the same person. This is a core component in the work of local photographer and digital artist Ron Nordstrom, the latest artist to be featured at ArtsForward in Neepawa. Nordstrom's exhibit, titled Perspectives, is a collection of photographs that he has edited digitally to create works of art. Many of the pieces on display originate from photos he took himself, while others come from expressive photos he was drawn to. I've had a couple of passions over the years, and at one time I had started drawing. This was in my 40s, and I later became an art teacher, said Nordstrom. I was really drawn to that world, and I really enjoyed hard mediums. Nordstrom noted that while the results were satisfying, the process was too slow for his taste, and his real passion was with creating colorful art. Although he gave painting the good old college try, he didn't stick with it long. One of the factors behind this was that he couldn't get down on canvas what he was envisioning in his mind. That's when I got into photography, and I was really passionate about it. I took thousands of photographs, some good, some not so good. But I learned a lot about picture composition, Nordstrom enthused. Then COVID-19 came and I needed something new to do. It began growing from there, and I got addicted. Nordstrom's photographic manipulations draw inspiration from a variety of artists such as Van Gogh and Pierre-Auguste Renoir. Many of them also evoke the movement and texture of palette knife paintings. If I had the skill, said Nordstrom, I would paint with a palette knife. The software Nordstrom uses for his works is known as Topaz, which is a program similar to Photoshop and offers a variety of editing tools. And like any other tool or skill, it takes time and work to use and develop in order to create that final product. It's a process to figure out what works and what doesn't. Sometimes I'll get a result I really like on one piece and attempt to replicate the steps with another piece, and it won't work out, said Nordstrom. So it's an experiment each time, and the trick, same as when you're really painting, is to know when to stop. Though of course with digital you have the advantage and opportunity to create multiple versions. Nordstrom added, a piece can take 2 hours or it could take 30 minutes. I've spent 3 hours on some pieces and thrown them out. Aside from having his work on display at Bruise Brothers Bistro in the past, this is Nordstrom's first big showing. It feels really great to have my work on display like this. With any artist, you work and work and work. So it's really great to have a larger group of people able to enjoy it, Nordstrom shared. Perspectives will be on display at ArtsForward until November 10th. And Once again, this is one of the pictures that he has digitally manipulated from a photograph made to look like a painting. Now on to page 6. This week in Out of Helen's Kitchen, cookies. What's so great about cookies? These sweet morsels can be eaten on the go, with friends over a cup of tea, or sharing time with family. They offer up sheer variety. There's a cookie out there for everyone's taste. Crispy and crunchy, chewy with oatmeal and coconut, melt in your mouth, buttery, soft and cakey, spicy with ginger, tangy with lemon, or the classic chocolate chip. Not only does this make cookies the perfect dessert, it also means you'll never get sick of them. So try these cookie recipes to share and enjoy them right down to the very last crumb. And in the article, she has 2 cookie recipes, one for carrot cookies and one for chocolate cranberry cookies. And right next to that, Bill Syrik hired as new Director of Operations for Yellowhead Center. A familiar figure that wanders the halls of the Yellowhead Center for many different events will be spending even more time there this winter. Last week, the Yellowhead Board of Directors confirmed that Bill Syrik has been hired as the new building manager and Director of Operations. Syrik is the 3rd person in as many months to step into this role at the volunteer-operated facility. Back in September, Yvonne Sisley took over the management position, but stepped down when an opportunity with Touchwood Park Association became available. Before that, Lindsay DeHolos had served as the building manager since July 2021. Syrik comes into the job with experience in operating community facilities, as he previously managed the Kelvin Community Center in Winnipeg. He has also worked at High Life Foods in Neepawa for several years, and on the side operates his own business, The Creation Station, an online music and information outlet. In an interview with the Banner and Press, Syrik noted that he had seriously considered applying for the position earlier this year, but was unable to get his submission details fully in order for the application deadline. However, when the job became available once again in September, he knew that this time he wouldn't miss his chance. So when the opportunity came up again, it was a calling, fate, whatever you want to call it, stated Syrik. I'm looking forward to stepping into the position. This facility is a very important part of our community. It's a focal point. It's something the whole community should be involved with and are invited to be involved with. It's not just sports. As for the recent turnover at the Yellowhead Center, Board President Wayne Jacobson said that it hasn't impacted the day-to-day running of the facility as one might think. That's because, according to Jacobson, former managers DeHolos and Sisley have been very accommodating in helping with the transition. Jacobson also singled out maintenance manager Tom Lissaway for working double duty for a few weeks to ensure things continued to progress at the Yellowhead without any issues. Jacobson thanks all those individuals for stepping up and assisting as much as they did. Bill Syrik officially took over management of the Yellowhead Center on Monday, October 16th. He said that moving forward it will be extremely important for himself and the volunteer board of the 52-year-old facility to understand that this is more than just a hockey arena. One of my goals is to reach out to the community and try to get a feel for what the community needs from the Yellowhead Center. It's fine for me to turn around and say, that's great, we've got hockey, we've got figure skating, we got this, we got that, but we have to look beyond that type of thinking to make sure we remain viable and that this is a facility that is welcome to everyone. And the accompanying photograph shows Bill Syrik, the new Director of Operations for the Yellowhead Center, in his new office. And now the Gladstone Cattle Market Report by Tyler Slowinski of Gladstone Auction. It seems like there are so many things to get caught up on and only so many nice days left to get it done as freeze up quickly approaches. Community pastures are scheduling pickup dates, and the welcoming cattle market has many cattle being marketed rather than backgrounded. We traded 1,620 cattle through the ring in Gladstone on October 17th. Strong prices are still available, although large numbers of cattle trading across the prairies have applied more pressure to the market. The market is still trading some tail-end yearlings, lots of wet-nosed calves, and still a fair share of cows and bulls. The feeder market was under pressure with the abundance of similar cattle moving in huge numbers across the prairies. Good weather is definitely helping the market. I expect more pressure on the market as more cattle flow to the markets and the weather starts to transition into winter. Cows and bulls were slightly steady to stronger in spots, even though local rail prices have slightly softened. Cows traded from 125 to 137, with sales to 145. Bulls steady to slightly stronger to last week ranging between 155 to 165, with sales to 173.50. The cattle marketing outlook looks both promising and very busy in the weeks to come. All classes of cattle sold well. Plainer type cattle are still being discounted. Some highlights from the sale. Black steers weighed 510 and they brought in $412 per pound. Crossbred steers weighed 612, they brought $374. Char steers weighed 710 and they brought $367. Heifer highlights. Charolais heifers weighed 540 and they brought $354.50. Fancy 608 weight black hided heifers traded at $344. A set of crossbred heifers weighed 762 and they brought $316 per pound. Now on to page 7, the Spruce Plains RCMP report. The Spruce Plains RCMP responded to 275 occurrences in the month of September. We executed several search warrants seizing stolen property and weapons used in offenses. Persons were charged as a result of these investigations. Early one morning we had 2 trucks stolen. Both vehicles were recovered and examined by our forensic identification section. In both cases the keys were left in the vehicles. The Spruce Plains RCMP would like to encourage everyone not to keep keys in their vehicles if they can avoid it. For the month of September, we had 1 individual speeding in a construction zone at 110 kilometers per hour in a 60 zone. Anyone who's ever worked as a construction flag person appreciates police enforcement of the zones. The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre continues to see report of extortion emails claiming to be from law enforcement agencies, including the RCMP. Reports have shown that there are fraudulent emails claiming to be from the RCMP or from RCMP executives. The message accuses you of serious criminal charges and asks that you respond to a fake law enforcement email address. When you contact them, they will ask you to send a payment to avoid going to jail. This is a scam. Law enforcement will never demand payment and will not threaten arrest by email or phone. If in doubt, contact the law enforcement agency directly. And the new book examines true stories of rural Manitoba. Fresh off his bestseller, Lake Agassiz, The Rise and Demise of the World's Greatest Lake, former Winnipeg Free Press reporter Bill Redekop returns to his roots, mining the highways and byways of rural Manitoba. In his 6th book, Don't Fence Me In, True Stories About Rural Manitoba. And the cover is pictured here. Redekop chronicles rural life. Along the way, he argues rural literature is a genre unto itself. Not unlike Western or pastoral genres in books and movies, it only lacks a good defining name. Redekop suggests the genre name should be the Remainers, people who have resisted urban migration. They've stayed on the land. They've opted for a rural lifestyle. Then there are those who have moved back to a rural setting, like commuters, organic farmers, etc. They are the returners, as in returning to the land or their rural roots. This is the post-rural area we live in, Redekop maintains, where these two peoples, the Remainers and the returners, intersect. The book's format is also unique, non-fiction short stories. Short non-fiction books, where they exist, will typically have a unifying theme, such as rural renewal, or rural architecture, or the future of a rural region. The short stories in Redekop's book are linked only by their rural genre, crossing many different themes. Also, where short non-fiction books do not have a unifying theme, they are almost always an author's previously published works from newspapers or magazines. The stories in Don't Fence Me In are all original and written specifically for this book. Can short non-fiction be an effective art form? Here's to finding out. In many ways, Don't Fence Me In is a tribute album to the scores of people who have welcomed Bill into their rural homes during his years traveling the province for the free press and again for this book. It's a heartfelt journey, but not as a member of the news media anymore, but as a writer, some guy with a notebook, a wayfaring stranger. Not one rural household refused to open their doors to Bill. The stories range from underground natural gas fires burning along Manitoba's escarpment to a community cemetery where volunteers hand-dig graves for family members. The book includes tales of Jesse James in Manitoba, quicksand in the Carberry Desert, Our Lady of Seven Sorrows Catholic Church in Camperville, where there was a recent dig for unmarked graves of a former residential school, and Canada's northernmost drive-in movie theater in Flin Flon. The book explores polka country, including the country's longest-running polka radio show started in 1958, and profiles friendship through the experience of two women who have gone out for lunch together every week for 35 years. In Western Manitoba, Don't Fence Me In, True Stories About Rural Manitoba, can be found at the Riverbank Discovery Center in Brandon, as well as Princess Auto for a limited time until January 1st, and at Kohl's as soon as it completes the paperwork. In Winnipeg, the book can be found at McNally's and Kohl's in Chapters after October 16th. And on page 8, there's a couple of small features. Thank you to all our firefighters. Most fire departments were already covered in the previous edition, but 2 still remained. So this week we have Eden and Lakeview. And also Meet the Teachers. Again, most were in a previous edition, but this week we have some additional teachers from the Pine Creek School Division. And on the bottom left, a photo getting ready for the winter. A variety of work is required to prepare for the upcoming season of tobogganing, cross-country skiing, and snowshoeing at the winter park. Pictured, the Davidson family is seen here, putting up sufficient wood for the warming cabin. Volunteers are essential for a vibrant community, and no one is too young or old to make a difference. And now we have a special section in this week's paper, the Farmer's Advocate. And this runs about once a month. In some months it's its own section, but this month it's a shorter one, so it's in the middle of the paper starting at page 9. First we have the Manitoba Crop and Weather Report. Manitoba's Ag Weather Program measures and records data year-round from over 100 weather stations across agro-Manitoba. After a hot spring that saw almost all of Manitoba accumulate over 125% of normal corn heat units, CHU, by the end of June, temperatures moderated through the rest of the growing season to range mostly 115 to 120% normal by October 9th, with pockets of the province in the 110 to 115% normal CHU range. The entire province is still below normal for average precipitation, with the central region remaining the driest at mostly 50 to 60% of normal precipitation, with the balance being 60 to 70%. A lot of the rest of Manitoba varies from 60 to 90% normal precipitation. Portage received 54% average precipitation, or 181 millimeters, and 119% normal CHU, or 3,262 CHU. A hotter and drier than normal growing season created a range of crop conditions and overall yields. With the majority of the crop now harvested, grain and oilseed yields locally were average to above average. Red spring wheat yields ran 30 to 85 bushels per acre, barley was 60 to 90, oats was 60 to 140, canola 40 to 60, soybeans 35 to 55, and corn 125 bushels per acre plus, and most of the crop was good quality. And this article was written by Sean Kabak of Manitoba Agriculture, as is the next article, Alberta and Saskatchewan Cattle on Feed. Canfax reported cattle on feed inventories are not only seasonally increasing, but continue to run above last year. Given historically large summer feedlot placements, this does pose some price and basis risk for the first quarter 2024 fed market. Totaling 921,000 head, this is the fourth largest October 1st cattle on feed inventory since reporting started. Fed cattle marketings for the month of September were the smallest since 2015. Western Canadian cow slaughter in September was 24% larger than last year and cut into fed cattle slaughter rates. With feed grain prices at the lowest point since the spring of 2021 and deferred 2024 live cattle contracts setting new highs in September, feedlots were encouraged to restock pens. Alberta and Saskatchewan feedlot placements in September totaled just over 267,000 head, 2% higher than last year. This is the fourth consecutive month that feedlot placements have been above last year. With dry conditions across parts of the province, there were a lot more calves on the market than normal, contributing to higher placements. In September, total heifer placements were 16% larger than last year, while steer placements were down 8%. This may indicate minimal cattle herd expansion in the near future. September heifer placements were the largest since 2004. Feedlot placements from July to September totaled 518,000 head, 104,000 head larger than last year. Over the past 10 years, this is the second largest third quarter placement volume. Breaking third quarter placements down by weight categories, calves and lightweight stockers under 700 pounds were 22,000 head larger than last year, while placements over 700 pounds were up 82,000 head. On to page 10. FCC supports cattle producers across Canada. And this is a submitted article from Farm Credit Canada. Farm Credit Canada, or FCC, is announcing a new FCC replacement heifer program to help Canadian cattle producers in maintaining or expanding their herds. The Canadian beef cattle inventory was pegged by Statistics Canada at 10.3 million head earlier this year, which is a decline by 4% since 2017. The cattle sector is an important part of the agriculture industry that contributes over $24 billion annually to the economy and plays a critical role in maintaining the health of grasslands. The FCC wants to ensure Canada's cattle ranchers have access to the financial levers they need to plan for the future. The drought conditions this summer affected a large cattle producing area in Western Canada, and right now ranchers are making decisions about how to best manage their herds, said Sophie Perreault, FCC's Chief Operations Officer. The heifer replacement program will help reduce cash flow pressures for those who want to maintain or grow their herd. The program consists of a loan with a maximum 2-year period of interest only and a maximum life of 7 years. For this loan, variable interest rates will be capped at prime plus 1.5% and loan processing fees will be waived. FCC is here to partner with customers in coming up with financial solutions that will continue to support the well-being and longevity of Canadian cattle herds, Perreault said. If ranchers have other needs beyond heifer financing, I invite them to contact the FCC team. The Saskatchewan Stock Growers Association appreciates FCC's response to the current needs of livestock producers, said Garner Diobald, SSGA president. This FCC program will help producers rebuild or maintain their herds after consecutive years of drought. Beef producers are encouraged to contact their FCC relationship manager or their FCC Livestock Alliance partner for details. Producers can do this by contacting their local office or the FCC Customer Service Center at 1-888-332-3301. FCC is Canada's leading agriculture and food lender dedicated to the industry that feeds the world. FCC employees are committed to the long-standing success of those who produce and process Canadian food by providing flexible financing, ag expert business management software, information, and knowledge. FCC provides a complement of expertise and services designed to support the complex and evolving needs of food businesses. As a financial crown corporation, FCC is a stable partner that reinvests profits back into the industry and communities it serves. For more information, visit fcc.ca. And on page 11, U.S. production down year over year. United States grain corn production is forecast at 15.1 billion bushels, down less than 1% from the previous forecast, but up 10% from 2022. This will be the third time in the last decade the U.S. corn crop will hit the 15 billion bushel mark. Based on conditions as of October 1st, yields are expected to average 173 bushels per harvested acre, down 0.8 bushels from the previous forecast and down 0.4 bushels from last year. Area harvested for grain, forecast at 87.1 million acres, is unchanged from the previous forecast, but up 10% from the last year. Soybean production is forecast at 4.1 billion bushels, down 1% from the previous forecast and down 4% from 2022. Yields are expected to average 49.6 bushels per acre, down 0.5 bushels from the previous forecast, but equal to 2022. Area harvested for beans in the United States is forecast at 82.8 million acres, unchanged from the previous forecast, but down 4% from last year. Most cereal crop production is estimated to be higher in 2023, except oats will be down 1%. Barley, all wheat and spring wheat, excluding durum, will be up 6, 10, and 5% respectively. Dry bean production will be down 13% from 2022. And to the right of that, we have a picture courtesy of the Canadian Highland Cattle Society. Among the many breeds of cattle scheduled to be on display at the 2023 AgX are the Highland cattle. Although not in large numbers in Canada, these cattle are a crowd favorite and are easily recognizable for their long, heavy, long hair coats and long horns. Although they appear fierce, they are usually docile, but like all large animals, they need to be treated cautiously. And on to page 12. Bigger and better Manitoba AgX draws near. And this is a submitted article. Manitoba's largest livestock show will be bigger and better when it opens up at the Keystone Centre later this month. While Manitoba AgX, presented by Mazer Group, will boast of its largest collection of livestock entries in years, the 50th anniversary edition of the event will host one of, if not the largest trade shows in recent history. Over 60 exhibitors, from implements and livestock equipment to animal health and merchandise, will be set outside the Westoba Ag Centre of Excellence, down the Canada Room hallway, leading to the exhibition hall as well as the city square during the annual event, scheduled to run from Wednesday, October 25th to Saturday, October 28th. Not only are we sold out when it comes to the livestock entries, we have been able to fill the facility with exhibits like we haven't done in quite some time, says Provincial Exhibition General Manager Mark Humphreys. With so much variety, this year's show will have something for practically everybody, from equipment displays to animal nutrition products. With so much going on throughout the event, we expect to see a lot of people coming through the doors. Among the many exhibitors expected to attend the 4-day event, which will be free to attend, include PV Mart, Aeroquip, Van L Equipment, Verdun Ag and Parts, Princess Auto, Livingstone Outdoors, Mid-Canada Fasteners, Sunstream Solar, Penner Trailer, IVS, Covers and Company, Precision Cam Allen Lee Securities, MASC, Rod's ATV, and Alexander's Ranch Tack and Feed. As well, visitors will have the opportunity to enjoy some delicious food from the Keystone Center, to Casa Pupuseria Salvadorena and Cabayan Pinoy. In addition to the food, the livestock and sheep shows and trade show Friday will see the Ag Center of Excellence serve as the site for a special Party in the Dirt social from 9 p.m. to midnight. Tickets to the event, featuring the music of Hicktown, are just $10 and will be available at the door. Advance tickets are also available at www.provincialexhibition.com. This year's AgX is hosting the nationals for Simmental, Shorthorn, Angus, Charolais, and Hereford Westerns, in addition to Speckle Park, Limousin, and Highland display. Now on to sports on page 13. Titans falter versus Wolverines and Kings. It was a weekend that the Neepawa Titans will likely try to forget about as quickly as possible. The Titans dropped a pair of games, first losing big to the Wayway-Sikapo Wolverines 9-2. The next night, the Titans traveled to Dauphin to take on the Kings and ended up falling in overtime 4-3. In the Wayway-Sikapo game, the Wolverines registered 5 different players scoring, including a hat trick by Jack Clark. Wayway goaltender Merrick Andrus stopped 19 shots to collect the win. As for Neepawa on this night, Carter McLeod was the offense for the Titans, scoring twice, including once on the power play. The Wolverines were 3 for 6 on the power play during the game, while the Titans went 1 for 5 with the man advantage. The next night in Dauphin, the Titans put in a better effort, but were still bested 4-3 in overtime by the Kings. Dylan Schrader, Kyle Weisgarber, and Cooper Kasprick all scored for Neepawa, while Mason LeBreau stopped 44 of 48 shots on goal for the Titans. The next game for Neepawa is set for Saturday, October 21st in Swan River against the Swan Valley Stampeders. The next home game for the Titans in Neepawa will be on Sunday, October 29th, when they face the Winnipeg Blues. Start time at the Yellowhead Center is set for 6:30 p.m. And in the accompanying picture, Carter McLeod, shown here, scored twice for Neepawa, including this power play goal in the first period versus the Wew'suwakapo Wolverines. Despite these goals, Neepawa was bested on the night 9-2. And below that, exhibition schedule starts in Tiger Hills Hockey League. The Tiger Hills Hockey League returned last weekend with its exhibition schedule. The Neepawa Farmers and Minnedosa Bombers played on Saturday, October 14th in Neepawa, with the Bombers winning 9-2. Both teams will meet again in Minnedosa on Saturday, October 21st. The regular season starts for Neepawa on October 28th in Deloraine, while Minnedosa begins the year at home on that same night against Killarney. And the next three Neepawa Titans home games are, as mentioned previously, October 29th against the Winnipeg Blues, and that'll be a 6:30 start. Then November 7th at 7:30 against the Dauphin Kings, and November 11th also against Dauphin, and that one will be at 5 p.m. And on page 18, Carberry celebrates harvest with Free Potato Day. Carberry Farmers Market, along with Barron Farms and C.T. Reynolds Farms, hosted a Free Potato Day this past Saturday at the Carberry Recreation Center. The weather was perfect as our community gathered together to celebrate our bountiful harvest this year. After 5 years of stressful harvests, some years were particularly difficult for some of our producers, with early winters and snow on Thanksgiving one year. Our community has also suffered quite a few tragedies in the last few years, so we take advantage of the opportunity to gather in happy times. In true Carberry spirit, an abundant potato harvest was a reason to celebrate. Organizer Jolene Balciunas couldn't sit by and watch people in our community struggling with food insecurity while the surplus of this year's crops were being tilled under. Mark Peters of Spruce Drive Farms in Portage was extremely helpful and supportive, offering advice learned from hosting a similar event for many years. A few calls to producers. Some were unable to help in the effort but were supportive of the idea. Spud Plains Farms hosted their own Free Potato Days in the field, offering the chance to see how potatoes are harvested. Generously, C.T. Reynolds and Barron Farms didn't hesitate to join in the effort to not only donate the potatoes, but also their families volunteered to help fill bags and deliver to seniors' residences. King Spud Transport and Spud City Food sponsored our free barbecue, serving 300 hot dogs. The festive feeling was present as the kids enjoyed the beautiful face painting by Sam Walker. The parking lot was bursting at the seams as families enjoyed public skating after filling their buckets. The day was filled with not only friends and neighbors, but people from all over Westman who took advantage of the mild fall weather to come out and fill their boxes and bags. Volunteers joined us from Brandon to help serve up the hot dogs. We even had a returning community member driving all the way from Enola to visit with old friends and load up her free Carberry spuds. Through the generous donations, we were able to raise $1,300 for the Carberry food cupboard, along with 2 boxes of food donations. Community coming together to help each other in tough times is the best part about living in a small prairie town. Thank you to everyone who helped make this day such a smashing success. And on page 19, pitching big ideas right at home. Area entrepreneurs share new ventures at What's the Big Idea? The Neepawa Banner and Press coverage area showed off its entrepreneurial spirit last week. On October 12th, businesses looking to get their start, to expand, or that have opened in the past year had the chance to show off their innovations at the 2023 What's the Big Idea event. A grand total of 7 businesses took to the stage at the Neepawa Legion for this purpose, coming away with a combined total of $12,300 in cash and prizes. Neepawa has a thriving business community due to the entrepreneurial spirit within our trading area. What's the Big Idea showcases great new business ideas and the people that are driving those ideas, said Mayor Brian Headley. Marilyn Crew, Economic Development Officer and organizer, concurred, adding, "The What's the Big Idea event addresses the questions and challenges faced by new businesses during their startup phase. Local entrepreneurs, business agencies, and the Neepawa Economic Development Office collaborate to find solutions for business success. Participating business ventures and entrepreneurs at this year's What's the Big Idea were artist Katie Martin of Neepawa, Belinda and Daryl Critchlow with Hidden Hollow, Neepawa, Kim Moffat with The Little Garden Next Door, Minnedosa, Brooke Rossnagel with ETV Yard Services, Neepawa and the surrounding area, Tammy Atke with Stellar Apparel of Neepawa, Kristen Clark with Authentic Skin Injections, Minnedosa, and Dan Zettler with Neepawa Lanes in Neepawa. Katie Martin was awarded Best Pitch of the Day and received $1,000 from Community Futures Westman for her fine arts business. Martin creates oil paintings, studio prints, paint nights, and commissioned murals. Martin was also a recipient of a $300 prize from the Neepawa Lionels. Belinda and Daryl Critchlow of Hidden Hollow, a kid's store and more, took home the prize for Best Overall Idea, earning $1,000 from Stride Credit Union. A total of $2,000 from the Neepawa Area Development Corp was also awarded. The pair's store offers a variety of games, toys, puzzles, candy, and more. The Little Garden Next Door is an indoor, year-round, vertical wall greenhouse business which grows lettuce, herbs, and greens for local restaurants and neighbors. This pitch, presented by Kim Moffat, won the Best Idea in Ag Award from MNP with $500. As well, $1,000 from the Minnedosa CDC, $500 from the RM of Minto Odana, a prize of $500, and a 1-year membership from the Minnedosa Chamber. ETV Yard Service is looking to provide service with a focus on a comprehensive range of high-quality home and yard care for Neepawa and area. For this pitch, Brooke Rossnagel was successfully awarded $2,000 from the RM of Rosedale. Tammy Atke's Stellar Apparel, which offers casual clothing for men and women, as well as specializing in workwear for industrial and commercial settings, secured a $1,000 marketing package from Promo Time, the Neepawa Banner and Press, and Provo Signs, as well as $500 and a 1-year membership from the Neepawa and District Chamber of Commerce. Kristen Clark has 10 years of experience working as a nurse. Her business, Authentic Skin Injections, offers anti-aging treatments for skin health and beauty such as Botox and much more. Authentic Skin received $1,000 from the town of Minnedosa. Neepawa Lanes is seeking to offer 2 lanes of bowling with a retro feel. Dan Zettler's vision to bring bowling's return to Neepawa received $1,000 from the town of Neepawa. "Every year is just fantastic," said Crew upon the event's conclusion. Event sponsors get the opportunity to put forward a judge each year as well. This year we had 2 judges who are new to the event. This event was open to the public, with the crowd including business owners, municipal officials, and a number of business development professionals. And in the accompanying picture, we have the participants in this year's What's the Big Idea. Pictured from left to right are entrepreneurs Belinda Critchlow, Brooke Ross Nagel, Kim Moffat, Dan Zettler, Tammy Atke, Kristen Clark, and Katie Martin. And on the back page, Westman Youth Choir entertains a full crowd at the Neepawa United Anglican Church. The Westman Youth Choir had quite the crowd to entertain at Neepawa on October 16th. The United Anglican Church was packed that evening, ready to hear the vocal performances of all the skilled youth involved. This performance was part of the choir's tour of Westman, with other performances also taking place at locations such as Minnedosa and Brandon this past week. And pictured above, the Westman Youth Choir as pictured during their first performance of the evening. And going back to page 4, the perspective section, we'll start with Homebodies by Rita Friesen, entitled A Pane of Glass. The beautiful weather this week allowed me to get almost caught up with my summer end chores. I got the gardens cleaned up, the hoses put away, collected and cleaned my garden tools, and did a good bit of walking. The task that hung heaviest over these feeble shoulders, I'm half kidding, was cleaning the windows. There is a voice within that will not be silenced until all the windows, inside and out, are as sparkly clean as I can get them. Twice a year, once in spring to get the winter gunk off, and now to get the cobwebs and summer gunk off of them. It's not that difficult to do. I have the right height ladder that is safe and easy to transport. I have the cleaning equipment. What I lack is motivation and desire. So I got thinking. I imagined my grandmother spending a winter in a soddy, a home basically dug into the earth. Earthen walls, low ceiling, very poor ventilation, crowded conditions, and often no window at all. Perhaps an opening covered with an oil-soaked paper allowed a bit of light into the dwelling. And this was on the Canadian prairies, so I'm quite certain that they didn't leave the door open any more than necessary. Even with a basic chimney, the air inside would be filled with smoke from the fire and candles or lanterns. I would not have done well. In my mother's generation, it was the large 2-story wood frame farmhouse. Single pane glass and many windows, for the desire for bright natural light was now attainable. If you were established, there would be storm windows to be added for the winter months. This unit would often have a series of openings at the bottom edge, with a wooden flap that allowed the holes to be open or closed. That way, if necessary, the inside window could be slid up, the vents opened in the storm window, and some fresh outside air could improve the air inside. The trick often was to carry a clean window up a ladder and fit it securely in the recess of the house window. One learned very early to clearly mark every storm window to identify exactly in which opening it belonged. Balancing a storm window as you climb is not a feat one wishes to do, only to find you have the one for the southwest corner, not the southeast corner. many panes of glass to clean for that project. With these thoughts fixed in my mind, I cheerfully stood atop my stepladder within easy reach of every window. Remembering the vinegar water and crumpled newspaper that were the standard window cleaning equipment, I cheerfully grabbed my spray bottle and a roll of paper towels. The screens for the windows are simply unclipped, and by placing them in the shower and hitting them with a stream of hot water, clean as can be. I have got it so good. I am energized by sunlight, and with fall job done, I have possibly delayed the need of artificial light by a full hour. And next to it, we have Ken Waddell's column this week entitled "Keep Them Poor and Uninformed." And before we start, a disclaimer: the views expressed in this column are the writer's personal views and are not to be taken as being the view of the Banner and Press staff. Last week, I wrote about the danger of the elites and allowing an elite group of people run organizations. The organization in question last week was the Progressive Conservative Party of Manitoba. I outlined how, over a few decades, a once vibrant grassroots party led its organization and leadership to become, at best, mediocre. I got some definite feedback on that subject. Another thought came to me today, and that is, why do governments like keeping people poor and uninformed? I think the answer is surprisingly simple. Poor, uninformed people are easier to control and keep dependent on governments. Think about it. Why are there so many poor people in the Middle East? Palestine, Syria, and many African countries are very poor, but we have lots of poverty in Canada too. Thousands of homeless people live in Canadian cities and towns. Many First Nations communities have high levels of poverty and a low level of basic services. Rich people don't need government intervention as much as poor people do, so there is, generally speaking, a lower level of dependence on government among richer people. The bigger the level of dependence, the bigger the government. The higher the level of dependence, the more bureaucrats you need, and that way the government unions get bigger and have more say in government policy. It's a vicious circle. Governments have always been that way. Manitoba was part of the old Northwest Territories, but it was also part of the very old, dating back to 1670, land grant from the King of England to the Hudson's Bay Company. Millions of acres of land, with almost no European population, was given by a king's charter. For the first 200 years, the population was made up of indigenous people, a few fur traders, and explorers. By the 1860s, there were also many Métis people who fished, hunted, trapped fur-bearing animals, traded in various goods and services, and farmed. The government of Canada decided to expand and bought a parcel of land from the HBC and decided also to survey the land with a view to development. Just so you can be assured that governments haven't changed much, Canada didn't tell the residents around Red River about their intentions. The residents didn't like the risk that their land could be confiscated. After a period of ever-increasing tension, Louis Riel objected and took some military-style action. It's a long story, but the bottom line is the Métis and other residents of the Red River area neither wanted government interference, nor did they want to be dependent on government. The government of Canada totally botched their intentions and communications. Riel set up a provisional government and council. Some violence erupted and 3 men died violent or accidental deaths. One of the deaths was an execution. It wasn't pretty, but out of the turmoil and violence, Manitoba was born. Many will argue that Louis Riel was wrong and that his actions in 1869 and his later actions in 1885 were treasonous. That's a valid argument, but it is also valid that Riel and his followers, had they not stood their ground, more violence may well have happened. As is often the case, a senior level of government didn't have a hot clue about local traditions, values, customs, or conditions. They assumed that they were dealing with poor, uninformed people who obviously must be told how to live in dependence on government. Riel made a number of mistakes, but I have long argued that he should receive recognition, and he did in 1992, when then Premier Gary Filmon declared that Riel was the founder of Manitoba, and there is more to come soon. Premier-designate Wab Kinew is quoted in the Winnipeg Free Press as saying, "This fall, when our team returns to the Manitoba Legislature, one of the first bills that we are going to bring forward is an act to bestow upon Louis Riel the honorary title that reflects who he truly is, which is Manitoba's first premier." Premier-designate Wab Kinew told a crowd of thousands gathered at the Red River Métis Annual General Assembly in Winnipeg on Saturday, who responded with a standing ovation. The 1992 recognition of Riel was a good move, and that was done by the PC party. Yes, the party that I described above as a once vibrant grassroots party. It would appear that this move by Wab Kinew is a good move, as was the move by Filmon. As I said, Riel made mistakes, as did Filmon, and so will Kinew. The successes of Riel and Filmon came from listening to the local people. If Kinew does the same, he will have success as well. His step of recognizing Riel holds some promise. And Faithfully Yours by Neil Stroshine, The School of Life. As I move about in this and other communities, I have gained a deep appreciation for one of God's greatest gifts to our world. That gift is the vast collection of knowledge, insight, and wisdom that resides in the minds of the people who live in our communities. This body of information has been accumulated over a lifetime of work and experience in what we call the School of Life. This school is unique. It charges no tuition fees. It does not have a set curriculum. Classes are always in session. In the School of Life, we follow a simple technique: observation, interpretation, and application. In the observation phase, we mentally record events and experiences we go through each day. What happened? To whom did it happen? What effects, good or bad, did this event and experience have on us and on those around us? The interpretation phase helps us attach meaning to the events and experiences. Why did they happen? What did we do that helped make this experience a positive one? What mistakes turned it into an experience we'd like to forget as quickly as possible? And how did our reactions make the experience better or worse for those around us? The application phase identifies the lesson or lessons we can learn from this event or experience, and how to apply those lessons so that we can avoid the mistakes that lead to misunderstandings or problems that take many weeks to resolve. Lessons learned in public school, college, or university are easy to forget, but lessons learned in the School of Life stay with us forever. Some of those lessons are worth sharing. I fondly recall times when my father would take me out on a crop tour of our farm and would point out areas in one of our fields where the crop was thin, the quality was poor, and the yield would be less than ideal. Then he would say, "Neil, I want you to remember this spot in this field. Next spring, when you clean out the corrals, I want you to cover this area with a good coating of cattle manure." I did, and the following year we had an excellent crop. In later years, as I moved from one community to another, I met people who, by their words and example, taught me how to be a better person and ultimately how to be a better minister. I will never forget those lessons and the impact they had on my life. But there were some lessons that I had to learn on my own. When I surrendered to a failed marriage, I sought help from friends who, like me, were divorced. They gave advice based on their experience, offered encouragement, prayer support, and checked in on me regularly to see how I was doing. But they could not ease my pain. I had to learn from that experience and recover from that pain alone. Now, in my 73rd year on this planet, as I look back over my life, I thank God for those who took the time to share insights and lessons they learned in the school of life. I am glad that I listened and learned from much of what I was told. I regret those times that I didn't listen, but when I should have. But I am thankful for God's forgiveness and the second chances that have come with it. The experiences have made my life rich and rewarding. God's grace, mercy, and strength have kept me alive long enough to enjoy it. And below that, we have a photo, prodigious parsnips. These parsnips, brought in by Helen Drysdale, pictured, were certainly prodigious. That is to say, they were remarkably great in size. The parsnip at the far right is the size of a normal parsnip and was brought in for comparison. The following information provides a sense of size for the giant vegetables. The largest one was just under 2.5 pounds. The second was just under 2 1/4 pounds, and the third largest was just over a pound. Drysdale credits composting in her garden area as the potential secret to her success. And we have one thumbs up. A thumbs up to the Gladstone Auction Mart management and staff, especially the friendly and professional receiving agent Michelle, auctioneers Tyler Slawinski and Josh Unraw. We at Deer Range Farm received $500 more for a wet-nosed steer calf as compared to 2022. From Robert F. Smith of Edrins, Manitoba. And our final article for today would be the Looking Back section found on page 3. 125 years ago, Wednesday, October 19th, 1898. Provincial veterinarian Thompson of Carberry went up to Russell on Saturday to inspect some cases of alleged glanders. Bridge Creek people turned out in large numbers to the English church opening on Sunday afternoon last and responded liberally to the call on behalf of home missions. Services are to be held there on alternate Sundays at 8 p.m. George Levac, who for a short time was employed in J. Brown and Company's store, left on Monday for Winnipeg before proceeding to take up a position in Los Angeles, California. During his short stay here, he made many friends, and all who knew him will miss a good, jolly, genial fellow. Residents and businessmen at the north end of town are seriously inconvenienced just now on account of so much water in their cellars. They would gladly pay proportionately for a drain, the same as South Enders did, and have signed a petition praying the council to put one in, but the necessary preliminaries would consume so much time that the work could not be done this fall, even if the ground were dry enough to permit of it. 100 years ago, Tuesday, October 23rd, 1923. Another hopeful sign is a reduction in prices of some types of candy. The first shipment from a new factory in Winnipeg, Boyd's, has been received at Brooker's and is sold at 40 cents a pound. 75 years ago, Thursday, October 21st, 1948. The 10th anniversary celebration of the Lions Club in Neepawa was a gala affair. The banquet and social event was held Monday night in the IOOF Hall and enjoyed by all who attended. Mr. and Mrs. George A. Blackwell, well-known residents of Neepawa, celebrated their 63rd wedding anniversary here Wednesday, October 20th. 50 years ago, Thursday, October 18th, 1973. The official opening of the Neepawa Harrow Works took place last Friday. Catherine Boyacek has known most of the hardships of life and few of its conveniences. She was born in Austria in 1896 and educated there until she was a young lady of 17 years of age. She then came to Slater, Manitoba to work for her cousin. They lived in small quarters and had little accommodation for her. The only place for her to sleep was on the floor. She got married later the same year, as she puts it, to get a place to live. They moved to a homestead that was mostly bush and timber, with very little cultivated land, just enough for a garden. They lived in a one-room log shack with slanting roof, one large and two small windows. They had a doorway, but no door. They hung a heavy blanket over the doorway. They lived on the homestead for 12 years, and 5 children were born there without the assistance of nurse or doctor. After 12 years, her husband canceled the original homestead and filed on another, which was much better. It was covered with brush and timber, and he cut cordwood for a living. Note, this is a portion of a story told about Catherine Boyacek for the Pioneers of the Beautiful Plains series put in the Neepawa Press, written by Len Wenham. And 20 years ago, Monday, October 20th, 2003. Vandalism of the town's water hydrants has become a major concern, Public Works Committee Chairman John Douglas said at last Tuesday's Neepawa Council meeting. Douglas said on the heels of the town's hydrant flushing program, vandals have decided to open up some hydrants themselves. Because the hydrants aren't being opened properly, Douglas said they are being damaged. There appears to be little opposition to plans to tap into the Assiniboine Delta aquifer to supply water to the town of Neepawa and surrounding RMs. Guy Euland staged the grand opening of Neepawa Computers last week. The store features sales and services in all computer products. Neepawa's CIBC branch won the Golden Shoe Award in the business category during the recent Walk to School or Work event. And we have a picture of that event here where CIBC manager Linda Davido accepts a Golden Shoe Award from Neepawa Collegiate students Helena Flager, left, and Savannah Bruyere. We also have an ad from the October 29th, 1989 edition of the Neepawa Press for W.M. Hamilton, chemist and druggist. So if you get a copy of the paper, you can look at that more closely. And Roxy Theater on October 20th and 21st is showing The Equalizer 3, showtime at 7:30 p.m. And then October 27th and 28th, also at 7:30 p.m., they'll be showing A Haunting in Venice. And right here on NACTV, we have a couple of highlights of the week. A discussion about medical assistance in dying. That'll air October 23rd at 3 p.m. And a palliative care presentation by Charla Murray will air on October 24th at 6:30 p.m. And as always, our full schedule is available at our website, nactv.tv. And our bingo jackpot is over $16,000, so that's every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. And so that's it for this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press, and we'll see you next week.